Hello and welcome to the Motoring News Zone, the show where we take you through all the biggest stories in the world of cars right now. This week, Toyota have claimed they've created an EV battery that can do over 700 miles on a single charge. A shipping company is refusing to transport electric vehicles after the Midas disaster, and a woman from Ohio has got revenge on a car dealership in the most spectacular way possible. Find out how and a lot more in today's show. If you're watching on YouTube, skip to the timestamps in the video description to see the story that you're most interested in. So without further delay, let's dive in. When it comes to automotive innovation, when it comes to success out of the jaws of failure, out of the jaws of death, some may say, you can't really look much further than Japan. Japan, of course, was absolutely devastated after the Second World War. The country was basically wiped off the map. They literally got nuked twice by the United States. Their cities were absolutely wiped clean. And then obviously after the Second World War, they dusted themselves off, got to work, and built their country into what would eventually become the second largest economy in the world, only behind the US. These days, I believe it's the third largest economy in the world, and a large part of that is their manufacturing industry, which absolutely drove the country to massive success by the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. And still to this day, I believe Toyota are the largest automaker in the world. Maybe not in terms of revenue, but definitely in terms of the amount of cars that they output every single year. People have tried to stop them, tried to slow them down. They've put tariffs on them. I remember here in the UK in the 70s, they put massive tariffs, 100% tariffs I think it was, on all Japanese cars imported into the United Kingdom. So what did Japan do? They just built their own factories here. There's Toyota factories, Nissan factories, Honda factories here in the UK, and they're massive employers of people right now. You know, they're some of the most successful car manufacturing plants in the country. You know, our domestic kind of companies just could not compete because they were rubbish. They were rubbish by comparison. You know, they made cars that were not as reliable and cars that cost more. So who the hell would want to buy one of them? All for loyalty and all, but I don't want to be out of pocket doing it. That's basically what happened. So Toyota very much, they've been the biggest ones. They've been the ones who have really driven success and innovation. You know, long before hybrids became so commonplace nowadays, they were making the Prius in the mid-2000s. That was like a decade before they became popular. They were really ahead of the curve. Now, when it comes to electric vehicles, a lot of Japanese automakers, for the longest time, we're not really a fan of them. We talk about EVs a lot here on the channel. They are far from perfect. They still output greenhouse gases, not of course driving around, but of course in the manufacturing processes of them. And also there are things like human rights issues as well. You look at how cobalt is got out of the Congo. Let me just tell you now, that is a very dark, deep rabbit hole that you really are not prepared for if you do go down. It's a bumpy old ride for sure, you know. So, you know, not perfect by any means, but Japan for the most part, not really been too keen on EVs. They thought the future was very much hybrid technology. And I get it, you know, it might be one day. If we get renewable fuels, if we get eco-friendly fuels, hybrids could be the way forward. They could be. Right now, though, EVs very much are the hot topic. They're the things that a lot of manufacturers are making a lot of. And Toyota, they're doing this, man. They're really, really going in on this, right? They have made a 745-mile solid-state battery. Now, for those who are the uninitiated, for those that don't really know too much about electric vehicles, that's a scary distance. That is an incredible range. That is double, over double, in fact, of what even the best electric vehicle really can do. Most EVs nowadays, if you're being really lucky, if you drive very conservatively, you don't drive very fast, you know, and you're just a very efficient driver, you could probably eke out about 300, 350, depending on the electric vehicle, obviously, in terms of the overall mileage. This is double that. This is massive. They have put every automaker, they're very much sweating. And, you know, we brought you a story literally today. I literally recorded just before this one that Japanese automakers, they're really much struggling right now, right in the here and now because of tariffs and things like that. This, though, this could get them out of that rut once again. This could be the next innovation, you know. Japan has had so many innovations when it comes to the automotive sector. Start-stop motors for traffic lights. The hybrids, like I mentioned before. Hydrogen-powered cars as well. I always thought it was Honda, but no, I think Toyota actually, according to this research I've done here, actually made the first hydrogen-powered car. So they are very innovative. They really, really are. When it comes to something like this, if they can do this, if they can mass produce it, and if anybody can, it's Toyota. This will really, really put them on notice. This will make the West, this will make China even sweat a lot. This will make them very concerned. And like I said, to put it into perspective, I believe the first electric vehicle that Toyota made was in 2022. They've only been doing this for 3 years. And they've potentially got a battery technology, a bit of tech with this, that could really revolutionize the EV industry. I've spoken about General Motors, I think it was. They made one. They are in the process of making one. There are some reported electric vehicle batteries that can do over 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles. We're yet to see it, though. And this is the thing. Toyota, they very much can make this happen very quickly. They're very good at it. So yeah, automakers around the world, beware. The Japanese are coming. Toyota are emerging from the land of the rising sun. What do you make of this, guys? Like I said, this is a big revolution if it does happen. Your thoughts in the comments below about this as always. So there's been a lot of controversy around electric vehicles and how safe they are, to the point where there is now a shipping company that is refusing to transport electric vehicles as a result. Now, of course, remember earlier this year there was that big crash, that big fire on an ocean-bound container vessel that was apparently, reportedly, started by electric vehicles that it was transporting. That was a massive fire. Somehow nobody was killed in that. It was an absolute miracle. And possibly off the back of this, companies are wanting to stay away from electric vehicles because although some people may say they are less likely to actually get up in flames, when they do get up in flames because of the chemicals in those batteries, it can create a chain reaction which is absolutely disastrous. But let's have a look, guys. Let's have a look at this company and why they have taken this decision. Got the full story for you here, as always. So ocean shipping company Matson has refused to transport any more electric vehicles on its ships after the morning Midas disaster, the one I mentioned before in Alaska. The company believes that the risk of an electric vehicle fire is something that can very much happen again, and they'd rather not be caught up in it. But interestingly, there has not been an official cause for the Midas disaster identified. We don't know what caused it. There were electric vehicles on board. There were also internal combustion vehicles as well, but the leading theory is that it was an electric vehicle fire that started it. I imagine with how little of that ship was actually left, it is something that is very hard to determine, unless there is some kind of CCTV footage of this. But given the fact that it most likely started in the actual containment part of this ship pretty far down, would there be CCTV there? I don't know. I've never worked on one. Let me know in the comments below if that is particularly likely. But it's been several months now, so you would imagine if they would have found a cause for the accident, well, the disaster, I should say, they would have found it. And in fact, the blaze on board burned for almost a month. And again, if it was the electric vehicles that started it or not, doesn't really matter. There were EVs on there that made this very much worse. Electric vehicles, when they catch on fire, it is a chain reaction. It's something that you cannot control. And in fact, this ban from Matson actually extends also to plug-in hybrid vehicles as well. Not just electric vehicles. They're also refusing to transport them in future too. Their main fear stems from lithium-ion batteries, which is understandable given what happened. The company released an official statement on this decision as well. They said, and I quote, "Matson continues to support industry efforts to develop comprehensive standards and procedures to address fire risk posed by lithium-ion batteries at sea and plans to resume acceptance of them when the appropriate safety solutions meet our requirements can be implemented." So there you go, guys. Get your thoughts in the comments below on this one. Is this an understandable decision? Is this one that is something that you would do personally if you were on the board or own that company, or if you're involved in shipping as well? Has there been talk of this being a potential hazard? The amount of electric vehicles now being transported, particularly out of China to other parts of the world. I want to hear what you have to say as always on this, guys. Whatever country you're watching this video in, there's probably some form of benefit system that your government provides. These can be disability benefits, these can be employment benefits, they can be any other kind of benefits like that. They're basically meant to help out the people who need it the most, and they are there for a reason. Now, unfortunately, some people do like to bend the rules when it comes to this and claim things that they're not actually entitled to in reality. And some people take this to the extreme, and this has to be one of the most extreme examples I have ever seen of benefits cheating or lying when it comes to benefits. A woman in Louisiana in the United States bought a Lamborghini while claiming government benefit for years. Which benefit? Medicaid. Let's have a look, guys. This is just, this just sends shivers down my spine. It really does, because people who cheat benefits like this, it it just doesn't benefit anybody other than themselves. It is effectively stealing, and I am sure she is going to get severely punished for this now that she's been found out. But here's the full story here, guys, as always. A Louisiana woman who purchased a Lamborghini while fraudulently obtaining Medicaid benefits is facing a fraud charge, authorities said this week. Candice Taylor, who is 35 years of age and originally from Slidell, Louisiana, has been dubbed the Medicaid millionaire by the Office of the Louisiana Attorney General, Liz Muriel, and she was arrested on Monday. Taylor, that is, not the Attorney General. The State Bureau of Investigation began to look into Taylor's case after receiving a complaint from Louisiana Health Department saying she underreported her income to qualify for Medicaid benefits. So basically, for those that don't know, when it comes to a lot of benefits with the government, you usually get them because you are on a low income or you're unable to work or something like that. And if you are underreporting how much you actually earn, you can get in severe trouble because it is basically calculated based on your income or lack thereof. If you're not being honest with that, they don't like that. They really don't like that, and you can see why. In the case of Medicaid, it provides health insurance to people in the United States who are on low income, and this is for both adults and children. The program is partially funded and primarily managed by the state government, so in Louisiana it would fall to the state government of Louisiana. The federal government established parameters for states to follow, and the states effectively follow them. However, how they distribute this is up to the discretion of the state themselves. It varies from state to state. For example, I imagine in Louisiana, the threshold to actually get Medicaid will be lower in terms of income than in a relatively high income state like California or New York. Although, again, Americans, correct me if I'm incorrect on that. Muriel also stated the following on this issue as well, on this case. From 2021 to 2024, Ms. Taylor continued to transfer tens of thousands of dollars between her personal and business accounts, with personal inflows consistently exceeding the eligibility thresholds of Medicaid. According to the affidavit that has been filed regarding this case, it states the following. From 2021 to 2024, Ms. Taylor continued to transfer tens of thousands of dollars between her personal and business accounts, with personal inflows consistently exceeding the eligibility thresholds for Medicaid. Taylor initially applied for Medicaid back in May 2019 under the alias Candace Saylor, listing a bi-weekly income of $1,900 and no dependents, authorities said. That application was denied, presumably because she was on a relatively high income. She was almost on $4,000 a month. That's a lot more than a lot of people earn. Less than a year later, though, she reapplied under the same misspelled name, prosecutors said. She was allegedly inconsistent with the years she reported having a dependent. Remember, initially in her first application under a different name, she reported she had no dependents. Now, these things can change, of course, but it's a bit of a red flag as well. Investigators eventually discovered she owned 6 different businesses that generated more than $9.5 million between January 2020 and December 2024, according to court documents. A look at her accounts revealed deposits totaling $480,000, with over $325 of that being directly associated with the business accounts of Taylor. In addition to that, further payments were distributed from one account, including a $45,000 vehicle payment to Audi Finance. Other purchases from her included a $100,000 wire transfer to Tactical Fleet, which is an exotic dealership, followed by a $13,000 debit card transaction for the purchase of a 2022 Lamborghini Urus, hence the headline at the start of this video. Taylor also made multiple 6-figure withdrawals via cashier checks, which allegedly funded property purchases, cosmetic surgery, high-end jewelry, and luxury services. 2 months after the Lamborghini was purchased, Taylor tried to renew her Medicaid benefits, claiming she made $4,000 per month with an unidentified business. However, she admitted that she was the owner, authorities said. So yeah, very much a fraud when it comes to that. There's no two ways about it. She's made claims that are just factually false in terms of her income, and she's going to get the book thrown at her for this one. I'd be shocked if she's allowed to keep her Lamborghini and a lot of the assets she's managed to purchase partially with Medicaid funding. And in fact, a lot of people are saying this could very much be a can of worms. They're going to look into things like her tax returns and stuff like this. The IRS may well have something to say about this if she's been fraudulent with those as well. If she's lied on something like Medicaid, why would she tell the truth on other things as well? But that is all allegations, of course. If I get any updates for this, guys, I'll be sure to bring you an absolutely wacky case for sure. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below on this. What should be the appropriate punishment for this? I love a good revenge thriller. I really do love that genre of film. The Revenge trilogy from South Korea, 3 of the best films you'll ever see from that country. And there are some fantastic films on offer from South Korea. But this is real. This is a real life story that does give those tales a run for their money. And like I said, this is true. Those are made up. Those are fiction. This is non-fiction. This is reality. And this has absolutely happened. It's an incredible tale of a woman from Ohio who's basically turned the tables on a car dealership in the most spectacular circumstances. Basically, her vehicle got repossessed by this company, and she ended up taking legal ownership of the company. Which, when you hear that, you think, huh? How? Her car got repossessed and then she took over the company. She took over legal ownership of it. How did she do that? I'll explain why. This is absolutely crazy. But like I said, this has absolutely happened as well. An unbelievable tale that is absolutely true. So a woman from Ohio whose car was repossessed by the dealership just 1 month after she bought the vehicle has pulled off a revenge move for the ages. Tia McCreary wanted to see what she could do legally to try and get her car back, but she did so in a way that I don't think anybody would have seen coming. She didn't come for the car, she came for the actual company, the actual business itself, because she discovered that the company failed to renew its registration on the company's name with the Ohio Secretary of State, so she instead registered it in her name. She basically took the rug from under their feet, pulled it out, and basically said, "Look at me, I'm the captain now." She then hit the dealership with a cease and desist order, ordering them to no longer use the name that they've used since 2012. Unsurprisingly, the company did not take this lying down. So to back up her claim, McCreary, according to court documents, received a preliminary approval for a loan when buying a used Kia K5 at Taylor Kia of Lima. The lender later determined that the information regarding McCreary's income was not sufficient for final approval and the car was repossessed while she was at work. So basically, even though she had the car, she didn't have final approval for it and it got taken back. And when it went eventually to court, McCreary basically argued that because she now owns the rights to the name of the business, that meant that the repossession of the Kia that she has was null and void, and a judge agreed with this, so she got her car back. And the court battle is still going on when it comes to this, but legally speaking, literally speaking, they should close shop. They no longer have the rights to their own name. I personally think, I'm not a legal expert by any means, but I imagine there will be some kind of out-of-court settlement for this that will allow them to still operate as a business, but also giving McCreary some kind of compensation, because that is an absolute boss move what she's done there, quite literally. That is incredible. But it's also a cautionary tale as well when it comes to leasing a car. Make sure you get final approval for everything. Make sure you have those funds in advance and that kind of income. And don't lie when it comes to your income as well. Presumably, McCreary was not completely honest when it came to her income, whether deliberately or whether honestly she just made an honest mistake. I don't know. I don't know the specifics of this case. But going off of this, she evidently didn't have the income she said she did when she filled out the forms. And that's why they ended up repossessing the vehicle. Which, of course, in that case, is their right. But yeah, your thoughts in the comments below are appreciated on this, guys. Very much a strange tale for sure, but a very entertaining one reading this to you today. Renting a car is always a risk. If you even get the slightest bit of damage on it, these companies can charge you an arm and a leg to get it fixed. If you get a little scratch on the door, they will claim maybe that you have to replace the entire door, and they will forward that charge very happily onto you for you to pay. But things have gotten even more complex than that, because of course, like anything nowadays, artificial intelligence is involved, and they love to employ it to make sure that you get charged some extra bonuses on that invoice for you to pay. It's are one of the biggest offenses when it comes to this. They're not the only ones by any means. Other rental companies are available at your discretion, of course, but Hertz are one of the worst when it comes to this. But how can you avoid these charges? It does feel a bit like if you're trying to leave your flat, you paid a deposit, you're leaving there, you're moving on. Maybe you finally got that mortgage that you really want, but your landlord, they want to get some money out of you. So they will claim that that entire deposit had to be used for cleaning and repairs and all that sort of stuff. But how can you protect yourself when it comes to rental cars and this new AI scanning technology? I've got everything you need to know here on the channel as always, guys. So the first one really is quite a simple one. don't rent from a company that has one of these scanners. Basically, we see loads of stories online of people who have returned their rental vehicle with the tiniest little blemish, the tiniest little scratch, the little tiny little dent in it somewhere. Maybe not even that. It's just not exactly the same as it was before, because you might have driven hundreds, if not thousands of miles on it in the weeks or maybe months that you have actually had that vehicle to hand. But not every company has one of these scanners. Relatively local ones are a bit more off-grid, for lack of a better term. They don't have them. And not even all Hertz ones actually have these scanners. So again, check, look, avoid them if they have the scanners. If they do, go somewhere else. There will be somewhere that doesn't have them. Over time, that'll probably become harder and harder to do. I imagine these scanners will probably become more and more common when it comes to these rental companies, because they do exactly what they are designed to do: charge the customer more money, which gives them more money to invest in these scanners, I guess. Second one, insurance. Now, this, of course, only applies to certain places around the world. For example, here in the UK, you got to have insurance for everything like that. But over in the States, insurance is not always mandatory, especially when it comes to rental cars. But if you want to protect yourself, get some insurance. Yes, it is extra cost, but it'll probably cost you a damn sight less than actually forking out for these repair bills that these companies are trying to forward onto you. Of course, check how much value you'll actually be covered for when it comes to this and make sure it is something reasonable. So then you don't get a nasty surprise a few weeks down the line when a bill comes through the post demanding that you pay for this repair job that you had no idea that the company would actually have to do. And the last tip I've got for you guys: if you can't beat them, join them. And by that, I mean use AI to your advantage, or at least record a video of you going around the car, making sure it's all okay, taking pictures of it, making sure everything is exactly how you left it. And I'm including the fuel gauge in that as well. Make sure you record exactly what the fuel gauge is, and make sure the person that you hand the keys back to, is aware that the fuel gauge is exactly where it was before, if not higher than when you actually got it. Because yes, of course, as everybody knows, they will charge you for that gasoline that you don't have in your car if you are under that value, which is understandable. It is a resource at the end of the day, but they won't give you money back if you're over it. So don't go too far over it. You know, there's being nice and then there's being played, and that very much is playing yourself, for lack of a better term. But just take pictures of it. Make sure every nook and cranny, every part of it, the inside of the glove box, everything right. Get pictures, arm yourself with evidence, because if they say that you've got something damaged and you don't have proof that it wasn't damaged when you handed it back, you got nothing. You got nothing. You've got nothing at that point. You can't protect yourself. Video is key as well these days. Make sure it's not just pictures, because they can always claim that they were photoshopped, they were edited. It's a lot harder to edit a video and make it look legitimate like that. And the last thing as well, really, to mention is the fact that a lot of people are saying now that this is going to lead to lawsuits. Of course, this being the land of the free and all, it's going to potentially lead to more lawsuits for these companies lying when it comes to the conditions of their cars using this AI. Maybe the AI is programmed to look for things that aren't there. I mean, maybe it's tinfoil hat time, saying stuff like that, but you understand where I'm coming from with that, right? But anyway, guys, let me know your stories in the comments below on this one. Have you experienced this before? Like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see more of this. Have a great day wherever in the world today. And have a great day wherever in the world today, guys. See you very soon.